message of peace. Listen with myself present and alert. Remain gentle, not self-righteous or hostile.
Peace activists held a peaceful protest at the Trigger Avenue entrance to Kitsap Bangor Naval Base, August 10th, as employees entered the base for the Monday morning shift. The vigil commemorated the 70th anniversary of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
The main thing we're going to do here is protect them. So as soon as they go out there with that blue banner that's going first, we will go out in front of them until we make sure traffic stops.
14 risked arrest in a nonviolent protest against the continued deployment and modernization of the Trident nuclear weapon system. 7 protesters carried banners into the roadway. The 2 incoming traffic lanes were blocked for approximately 48 minutes until Kitsap Sheriff's deputies and Washington State Patrol officers arrived and removed the protesters. Meanwhile, Navy personnel diverted incoming traffic around the banners via the outbound lanes. Cited for being on the roadway illegally were Mac Johnson of Silverdale, Doug McCollin, Port Townsend, Brendan McMillan, Port Townsend, and Michael Siprov, Belfair. Just 20 miles from Seattle, Washington, the Trident submarine base contains the largest concentration of operational nuclear weapons in the U.S. arsenal. Each of the 8 Trident submarines at Bangor carries as many as 24 Trident II D5 missiles, and each can be loaded with 8 independently targetable thermonuclear warheads. Each warhead has an explosive yield up to 32 times the yield of the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. 8 protesters walked onto the base, blocking the roadway, and staged a die-in. While 3 activists dropped down on the roadway, the others poured ashes around them, leaving body shadows similar to the shadows of those incinerated in the atomic bombings. Navy security personnel arrested them, cited them for trespassing, and released them a short time later. Two of those who entered the base attempted to deliver a letter to the commanding officer, urging him to call for an immediate halt to the upgrading and expansion of the Trident fleet under his command. The 2 were among those arrested. Arrested and charged by the Navy were Mary Gleistein of Kingston, Ann Hall of Lopez Island, Ann Kittredge of Quilcene, Betsy Lamb from Bend, Oregon, Peggy Love of East Wenatchee, Emily Marlinhaus of Bend, Oregon, Elizabeth Murray of Paulsbo, and Michael Siprov of Belfair.
Michael, you still got one in the street. Okay, they're out now.
Okay, folks, we're done. Good job, everybody. Good job.
2 of those who entered the base attempted to deliver a letter to the commanding officer, urging him to call for an immediate halt to the updating and expansion of the Trident fleet under his command. The 2 were among those arrested. With the implementation of each and every step towards the refurbishing and upgrading of our nuclear arsenal, we continue to disregard prudence and morality. And with every deployment of a Trident submarine in international waters, we continue to violate international and humanitarian law that specifically prohibits the use and threat of use of any nuclear weapon. The thermonuclear warheads launched from Trident submarines has been undergoing a life extension program in which the warheads are thoroughly refurbished and upgraded. The entire Trident fleet is slated for replacement, and the cost to build 12 Ohio-class replacement submarines is estimated by the Congressional Budget Office at approximately $100 billion. Ground Zero Center's No to New Trident campaign is built on the premise that Trident has been deployed at near Cold War level since the fall of the Berlin Wall as a major symbol and projection of global power. This, together with the continuing Trident modernization efforts, has led to the resurgence of Russia's ballistic missile submarine force. A new Cold War is developing that, in a completely different and less stable global context than the previous Cold War, poses a new and even greater threat of nuclear war. Trident is at the heart of this new Cold War and must be addressed now before production begins on new Trident. It is critical that the U.S. and Russian leaders change postures and come together to begin the necessary dialogue to lead the way to a nuclear weapons-free world. 70 years is long enough. Future generations depend on turning away from this nuclear posture.
We had 3 shadows, 3 bodies, and we got pretty good shadows.
Affirm life, abolish nukes. Affirm life, abolish nukes. Affirm life, abolish nukes. Affirm life, abolish nukes.
2 of them anyway.
You might want to go on the other side of the line.
We've exceeded our expectations, but that's no reason to go back on what I determined I would do. I was the first one to say, I'm going in the road, I'm going to get arrested. I almost copped out, but I'm staying here.
Affirm
May
life,
this be an opening
abolish
of life.
nukes.
Your thoughts at the moment?
I'm surprised it took so long.
Are you going to stay here?
Sure. I feel like it's a very good action today.
Your thoughts, Gilberto?
Just that there are a very few committed people. Peace is very possible.
Still possible.
Yes.
And we're going to have to work for it.
Willing to get arrested for it.
70th anniversary of the last time a nuclear weapon was used against humans intentionally. But we have a very long way to go to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I can't think of a better place to be or better thing to be doing than being here right now, opposing Trident.
I think this was an excellent action. I think people had a chance to really see what was going on with us and with the nuclear weapon. The shadows on the road was very powerful. And the shadows are still on the road, even with people driving over them.
Right.
And that's the point we want to get across. Nuclear weapons are deadly and kill indiscriminately. And I think some of the people driving by were really supportive, and a few weren't, but, you know, that's okay. We'll just keep being here, and every August we'll keep being here until nuclear weapons are gone.
Going down this far, right? Yeah.
Right on this way.
And head down where those patrol cars are.
Follow the canyon right there. Yeah, well then you can go there.
Okay. You gotta move down here to the patrol cars, ma'am.
You doing the light changes other than that? Yeah.
just got to get rid of those subs. It's just immoral, it's illegal, it's dangerous, it's something we ask everybody else not to do. We need to stop doing it ourselves, having them and deploying them. We were trying to deliver a letter to the commander to ask him to use his influence, because he's the highest authority we have access to.
And how far did the letter get?
It's in my pocket. Didn't get very far. We're going to mail it to him.
One of the things for us to keep in mind, especially for women in the military, you know, how much the sort of blowback for the women, the amount of sexual harassment, sexual abuse.
I know, that's why I was surprised that sweet young woman who was in the security detail, she told us she always wanted to be in the Navy. She was very comfortable with us. They were all really pretty pleasant. There were a couple that were more officious.
Okay, what goes through your mind as you stand here holding that wonderful sign?
People that I'm here with really know what they believe in, and that they're willing to give a lot to make sure that happens.
Just give peace a chance. There's other alternatives to the way we're handling things now.
But this is a citation for pedestrian in the roadway. I can contest it, I can pay it, or what I'm probably going to do is send it in and go for a mitigation hearing. That allows me to explain the circumstances in a courtroom and why I did that.
We think it's not just illegal, immoral, and threatening to all life on Earth. And there's other witnesses about these kinds of things, like happened in Portland last week. The blocking of a ship to go to the Arctic, and people suspended themselves from bridges with Greenpeace.
First of all, I'm just going to say this. We won today. We haven't stopped the nuclear weapons, but we outsmarted them and had a huge impact on the base traffic for our numbers.
I really appreciate Dante telling us to go talk to people, because I went to talk to this man who may have been in charge, I don't know, and we were just standing there in the middle of the road talking, and the Navy people arrested everybody else, and I was still talking to him. I think they thought I was with him. He told me to go to the side, and I didn't, because he didn't go with me. He kept saying, "There's one more." They were hearing that. But I think it would be really kind of classy if we were to just send an excuse. I'd be happy to write it. You know, we're sorry that any of your employees may have gotten late to work, and we don't want them to be disciplined. I would say that to the person rather than just have a nice morning.
I like the ability of thinking on our feet when things change and being able to shift and, okay, we need two up here now, or I think that's really important, and it definitely keeps it more effective.
I liked that several traffic lanes were open. It just allowed many more people to see what was happening than if we had blocked the highway completely.
And I actually heard the young Navy woman saying something like, well, we need to get her license plate, or, you know, something like that. Like there was much more anger at bad attitude toward us than there wasn't any toward us. I mean, just like you, Firefly, I recognized Lieutenant Crane. I greeted him. He came over and shook my hand after I had been moved to the side. And I think he took to heart what we asked of them at that meeting, which was that we be treated with respect. And I think that was very clear today.
I saw one of the officers salute to somebody in a fancy car. So when he passed by, I saluted, and I think I got a smile.